welcome to yet another Arcware webinar. Today we are joined by our very special guest, the most special of guests, Ivan Garcia. Ivan has been a rock and the cornerstone of Arcware for a long time, so it's super exciting to have him back in the office and catch up. But today he will also help us with some fantastic content. So today's topic is how to embed a pixel stream on your website. We, as most of you already know, we've seen some familiar names in the list of attendees, and everyone already has, or some of you have already interacted with our chat. So today's webinar is going to be relatively simple. We are going to have Ivan, who is going to give a fantastic presentation on his best practices, tips and tricks on how to embed a pixel stream on your website. You can always drop questions, comments, etc. in the chat. Sometimes I will then I will ask these questions to Ivan so that we can deal with them straight away. And sometimes we will have to wait until the Q&A section at the end. We just really want to make sure that the flow works for everyone. I don't want to interrupt him while he's doing his thing. That can only just lead to bad outcomes. So ask questions in the chat. I will ask you some polls. I will ask you questions through the polls so that we also kind of know who's in the audience today, because if everyone is into e-commerce and does not care anything about ArcViz or any of the other more common use cases with pixel streaming, then obviously if we know everyone's in e-commerce, we can personalize the webinar a little bit that way. And other than that, yes, make sure you have some questions for the end. There might be personal issues that you are facing. I mean, not like your personal issues, but issues that you face with your projects, I mean. And so then there's nothing left for me to do other than to introduce the man of the hour, Mr. Ivan Garcia. He will introduce himself a little bit better at some point, but during his presentation. But for me, all that you need to know is Ivan Garcia was one of the people building our platform. He then became our head of product and worked together with Lorena, who I hope is in today's audience because she did register. And together they are, I see your name in the list here, Lorena. Lorena was a front-end developer and designer, so a lot of our brand is something that you know through Lorena's work. The colors, the designs, that's her work. And now together with another Arcware veteran, I understand, you are starting your own studio.
Yeah.
And so if there would be anyone that you would need to learn how to embed a pixel stream from, I think that there is no better candidate than Ivan. So with that, I think we have a fantastic guest today. We have a fantastic presentation. I've already seen it. No spoilers, but it's awesome. And with that, I will start to shut up and give the word to Ivan.
Okay, thanks for the introduction, Dirk. So I will ask Manos to share my screen so we can have our presentation running there. So hi everyone, welcome to the webinar. It's from my side, it's a pleasure to be here with the guys because we were working together for quite some time. So here you have a little bit of introduction about who we are, but from my side is what Dirk was mentioning before. I've been working with Arcware since the beginning, so I was part of the development of Arcware Cloud. I was also part of the team who was developing the WebSDK that many of you are using or you are about to use if you want to integrate your Unreal Engine application into the browser. But also I was working with most of our customers developing projects for them or helping them to get started. So what I'm gonna share with you is all the best practices for embedding your Unreal Engine application into the browser. And as Dirk said before, I'm gonna showcase some projects, I'm gonna share some tips, I'm gonna share my screen with some code maybe, so you are free to ask any questions you have. Some of them I can answer right at the moment, but some of them maybe we will have to wait for the end. So let's see a little bit the agenda. So the idea is that we are gonna see why the web integration is better than the share link, and I'm gonna explain a little bit the share link. Also, I'm gonna explain just pretty briefly what is the technology behind and how it works. We are gonna see a code snippet to understand how to set up the web SDK so you can stream your application through your website or any web application you are using. Also, we are going to check some integration options and examples. So we are going to compare different types of integrations. We are going to have also a little bit of understanding on how the front end will communicate with Unreal Engine. And then we are going to see some tips on how to customize the performance and the branding. And the last part before the questions is some of the advanced features we have for this case. So we are gonna talk about always the integration with Arcware. So most of you guys, if you are using Arcware already, you are a customer from Arcware, you probably use the share link for sharing your projects with your customers. When we are using the share link, we don't have any type of customization. So we have only our link. This is what we can set to the customer. They are going to have access to the Unreal Engine application. But if we have, for example, an in-game UI, this UI is not going to adapt unless we do some stuff in Unreal side. So by using the web integration, what we have is full control of the interface, which means we can customize colors, branding, layout, or anything we want for our application. And we are going to see some examples after this. Because we are working with the browser, it's responsive by default, which means you don't have to check whether you are using a laptop or a mobile phone or any other device, because the resolution is going to adapt. So your frontend can adapt also. One of the other points is by taking from Unreal the interface, so we don't have in-game interface, it means that our Unreal Engine application will have a better performance, because this whole heavy rendering for the interface is going to be taken care of from the browser. And the last point, which is pretty good for when we are talking about having Unreal Engine integrated with many types of applications, when we are integrating the pixel streaming into the browser, it means that we can connect it with backend APIs or even CMS, which means we can create full applications and using Unreal Engine for the rendering. So here I have two examples. One of them is from Ben Walker. I don't know if Ben is online right now.
Ben unfortunately is not.
He is not online, right?
No. He's,
okay. But Ben is one of the customers from Arcware, and I really like this project from him because in terms of visuals, I think it's pretty nice the way that the model is displayed there, but also the options you have in terms of color. So here we have the streaming, and as you can see, the application is running pretty smooth, and you can see there is options for changing the environment and so on, which is pretty cool. But we have on the left the interface. What happened with this is even the interface is enough for doing some color changes and so on. When we go to mobile view, the interface is not able to adapt properly because it's an in-game UI and this interface is rendered by Unreal Engine, which means Unreal Engine doesn't have any idea what is the resolution and how to adapt this interface. So we have an example of a really cool project, but that can be brilliant with a integration to the browser. So on the other side, we have one of our showcases. And this showcase is for the AMG one. And this is something we wanted to do in-house when I was working with the guys, and also the development of the UI was done by Lorena. That's the reason why the front end looks so good. But the thing is, in this case, we have the car. And for example, you see on the right, we have some buttons to control when the car is moving, or you can make it move or park the car wherever you want. And then everything is really clean in case you want to see the car properly. But then with this click, we have the whole interface. And this interface is in the browser. So as you can see, we have the color changes, but also you see the current active color is working because Unreal is sending the information to the front end. Same with the interior. The good thing of this is we can connect the cameras to the options we have. So every time we go to the exterior or the interior, we can change the camera. It's the same with the functions. We have options to open the doors and so on. And you see that everything is connected to cameras and functions. One other cool thing is, for example, the driving modes. This is something that you can have in Unreal, but then you don't have these options on your front end to show a thumbnail, or even you can have a small video or something like that if you want to have something a little bit more visual. But the good thing of this is when you go to mobile, in this case you saw the adaptation of the interface because we are using the browser and we are simulating this. But when you are on your phone or you are using a tablet, iPad, or whatever you are using, you don't see this transition. So this way you have the same interface but adapted to your device. And this is one of the main things that you are going to have as an advantage when you are using the web integration, that you have full control of the interface, but you're still able to communicate with Unreal for any input you want to send. It's the same with controlling audio, it's the same to go full screen and everything. So let's go back to the presentation. So how the technology works is pretty simple. In this case, the Unreal Engine application is running on the Arcware Cloud servers. So the only thing you have to have is an account. And if you guys have any questions about the product and about the different types of tenants, Dirk he can answer any question. But the idea is that you have your account, you upload your project, and after that, you have the application ready. When you have your application ready, then it's Arcware Cloud, the one who is in charge of controlling the WebRTC negotiation and the stream delivery. And the WebSDK is the one who is connecting Arcware Cloud with your browser, so you can play around with the inputs, with video, UI, events, and so on. So what is the Arcware WebSDK? So it's a plugin that we developed, and it's on top of the Epic Games streaming plugin. So this means that we are supporting everything that Epic Games developed, but is customized for Arcware Cloud. That means that, for example, there are options to control the buttons that you want to show on your interface, like full screen, microphone, audio, and so on. But apart of that, you have the chance to customize whatever you want. So for example, if you have your own style and the colors by default are not right, you can always override them. The good thing of the Arcware WebSDK is that from one side you have full support for inputs like mouse, keyboard, touch, microphone, gamepads, and also VR devices. I have to mention that VR is an experimental feature, but at the end of the presentation, if there is any question for that, I guess Manos can answer, because he's the one that was playing around more with this feature. Mm-hmm. And this is a plugin that is framework agnostic. which means that you can implement the plugin, the WebSDK, without using any framework like React or Vue, Angular, or whatever you are using. You can just take JavaScript with HTML and put it in your website or application that you are developing. But this is also something really good in terms of if you are using Webflow or other type of website builder. By using JavaScript and HTML, you are also able to integrate your Unreal Engine application. I think at the end of the webinar, Dirk will share this presentation with you guys. So you will have access to the links that you see here. So if you need more details, you are going to have at the end of most of the slides a link to the documentation, so you can see more details how to implement this. So here is the basic settings for the WebSDK. So depending on if you are using a framework like React or you are implementing this with JavaScript and HTML, there are different ways to import the plugin, but everything is written in the documentation. So you see the link there. You can go there. You have how to get started. You have code examples. So everything is pretty easy. What this code snippet is doing is it's gonna initialize the streaming inside a web container, which means that if you, for example, are developing something and you don't want to have everything in full screen, you can have a small container and the application will run there. And everything will happen on the browser side. That means that if you are developing something, you don't have to work on Unreal side, working with blueprints and then building the application again, uploading and so on. Everything is on the browser side. So you have this code snippet and all the information about how integrate this code is on the link on the left. So you can click there, go to the documentation and see everything. And then we are gonna check one of the examples we have here for CodePen. This is also a link that is coming from the documentation. So if you guys go to any of the options you have for the integration, you will see the code snippet, and then you can open this tab. And you will have the option to play around there. You can change some stuff, you can add some buttons, you can change the share ID for your project. So as you can see here in the screen, this is the share ID that you can take from the platform when you set up the share ID. And I guess the guys in the previous webinars, they were explaining how to do these kind of things. So you take your ID, you put it here, and then you can see your application running without developing anything. So you can start playing around with colors, with buttons and so on. For example, this button here is the one that is sending the messages to Unreal. And if you see on the left, there is a lot of logs. Something will happen really fast, but it's because there are many logs there. But that means that Unreal is receiving the messages from the front end. So next part of the WebSDK is the integration options. This is what I was mentioning before, but here is some advantages we have depending on the option we go and some considerations. So when we are working with HTML and JavaScript, it's pretty lightweight. We have full control, and can we go back to the? Yeah.
We can always go back.
Yeah.
It's easy. Don't worry about it.
So yeah, because I guess they need to see what I'm referring to. So the thing is, with pure JavaScript and HTML, is pretty simple. You have full control. It's lightweight, and it's mainly used when you have CMS or other type of platforms like WordPress or these kind of things, where you have kind of limited options to integrate the stuff. And this is the most simple way to do it. Then when you are developing something like a web application or even a website, but you are using React, Vue, or Angular, this type of frameworks, they will give you more options because then you have full control of the integration, and then you can create your own components to be reused later and so on. You need to know how to set up your front end, and you need to have a little bit of knowledge on how to deploy these kind of applications, but this is the one that will give you more options and more control about the integration. Then we have Webflow, and this is something that we were testing in the past and it was working. It was similar to HTML and JavaScript, but this is for people that are creating websites and they want to have something really nice in terms of visual, but without going into details in terms of coding. So maybe you are a little bit limited if you want to go for this direction, because can be the backend and the API's capabilities are maybe a little bit blocked by the Webflow, but you have also the option. And the last option, which is possible, but we are not always recommending because it's only for edge cases, is the iframe. Because the iframe, you can have your Unreal Engine application running on your website, but because you are not under the same domain, probably the browser will block some of the events. Let's say that mouse input or keyboard input are going to be blocked by the browser. And it's something that you don't know when it's going to happen, or if for everyone is going to be the same experience. So iframe is possible, but we don't recommend to use it.
Before you continue, I would say that something like a Wix builder falls in the same category as a Webflow here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but at the end it's the same. If you have in your web builder this type of code block where you can put some code, JavaScript code, then you have to use the HTML plus JavaScript, and then you are going to have this running. And it's always a better option than the iframe, because iframe, it's not the best solution. So the good thing of this is you have plenty of options, so you are free to do in the way you want. I'm gonna share some projects that the guys have from some of the customers with different experiences, and they are also, some of them are running with the iframe, some of them are running with proper integration. So this is Hyundai USA, and this is the Ioniq 9, the new model. And they integrated this into their website. This website is not done with any kind of, let's say, normal framework like React and so on. This is done with Adobe Experience Manager, I think it's called, which is a CMS similar to WordPress, but more for this type of websites. In this case, the way that they are interacting with the car and the front end is by this small pop-up. So you can change here with the arrows, and then you are gonna move around the car, and you are gonna see the different options they have. So it's a different type of experience or different type of storytelling depending on the case. But this shows that you can have your Unreal Engine application running on the browser together with other stuff for your products or for your customer products, but your application is always here. So this is one of the examples, and the other example is one from Opel, and I think here is gonna be familiar for one of our guests, Andy. And in this case, if I'm able to find, So what the guys from Opel are doing here, in this case, they needed to use iframe. They are using also the Adobe Experience Manager, but for them it was easier to use the iframe. It's a different type of storytelling, because in the other one you have more information about the different types of wheels, for example, or some options for the interior. Here is more to visualize the car. So you can see, for example, a different environment for night, or you can go to the interior of the car and move the camera around. You can go back to the exterior. You have different views, so you can focus on the lights, the wheels, and so on. You can have even your cinematics, so you can see the video from the guys where they are showcasing the car a little bit. And for example, this car is also interactive. So when you click on the doors or you click on the trunk, you can open some of the stuff and see what's inside from the exterior. So different examples, both of them part of a more complex website, but this is one of the options you have with the integration on web. So let's go back to the presentation. And this is the part for the communication between the frontend and Unreal Engine. When I was talking with customers, most of the time they had issues in terms of understanding how this is going to work. And for most of them at the beginning, they thought it was really complex, but this two-way communication system. So you have someone who is going to send information and the other one who is going to listen. In this case, we have two JavaScript methods. One is for sending the commands to Unreal Engine, and then the other one is to listen the response from Unreal. So the one on the left, the emit UI interaction, is the one where we are going to pass as parameters our actions to Unreal Engine. So let's say we want to send, we want to change the color of our car or our product or whatever we are streaming. This is the method that is gonna tell Unreal, hey, I'm sending you this information, please change something. The other one is when Unreal Engine is set up on the blueprint side, because this is important. If you want to send information back to the front end, Unreal Engine has to be set up for this information. And I think that Manos covered this topic in the past in one of the webinars. But Unreal Engine has to send information to the front end, and this is the get application response method, is the one that is gonna listen to the information coming from Unreal. This is important, for example, if we have a front end that is interacting with Unreal Engine, and we want to activate something like you change the color to blue and you want to have this on your front end active, this is what we have to listen. Another option, for example, is when we are loading the application. For some companies, it's good to have a loading page where they are going to explain a little bit about the product that you are going to see there. So this is something that you can use for telling to your front end from Unreal side when the application is loaded and you have your product visible. So the other thing is, when you check the presentation, you have also the link that you can go to the documentation and you have all the details, how to send the information, how is the syntax and the format for these messages. Then we go a little bit to the customization part, and here is really good for any type of developer that is working with Unreal. So if you are part of a company and you are doing a project, but you need to have your own design or your own style, or you are your own developer, but you want to do something for your customers and you have to customize depending on your customer, here's where you can see the options you have. So on one side, you have full control of the streaming. So you decide where you are going to put the streaming, and then you are going to customize this container, and then you have the option to build a loading screen or information buttons or whatever you need. So it's all on your side. You have full control. You have also endless possibilities. On the other side, you can also add buttons or sliders or drop downs or indicators for opening the door or displaying some information. This means, for example, if you have cinematics, you can control them with the front end. So not only go to play the cinematics, but also you can control the time of the cinematics, and at the same time you can change the configuration of your product. So that makes everything a little bit more dynamic. Then by default you have the Arcware interface, where you have the microphone button, you have the audio button, you have the full screen button. You have some buttons by default, so you don't have to integrate them or develop them from scratch. And that means that you can override the style of these buttons or anything you need to do. And the other thing is, by having this control, you have full control of when to disconnect the streaming. Let's say, for example, by default there are some options for the WebSDK that you can control from the Arcware Cloud. When you go to your project settings, you can control when someone is not interacting with the streaming, when you can disconnect the streaming. But if you are implementing this option, you can have more control. So depending on some of the actions that the user is doing on the browser, you can even disconnect or reconnect the application. You have also the link at the end, and this will go directly to the Arcware documentation, where you have more details on all of the events. And we have also a code pen, where I can show some of the buttons you will see there. And as I said before, this is like a playground for you guys. When you go to the documentation, you can try things around without developing anything on your side or spending time on setting up your project. You go there, put your share ID, as I said before, and start playing around. So, for example, let's try to focus a little bit on the styling. And then we have some buttons here on the right. You're gonna see some stuff here. And then, for example, we have this button, which is the full screen button. I think I missed something. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was very busy with the chat, but this is the normal templates that we have ready, right? The one that is available in the Fab Store, etc. The one that this is not a special version, all right? So then, while you are occupied slightly, what I want to say is that we have a template ready for anyone to test out our platform. You can get this from the Fab Market yourself. Just search for us there and you'll find us. It's available for free. The whole reason it's there is that you can reverse engineer the things that we've done, test our platform, learn how things work. And if you ever get stuck, as I already posted in the chat, reach out to Manos on Discord. He's more than happy to help you. He's helping us right now like a real champ with this webinar. So he means business. But I believe you are already sorted.
Yeah. So it was good that you were talking, because I could find what I was doing wrong. So the thing is, and this is something important I wanted to say, when you are working with the WebSDK, we have like a global style file that you can override. You have two options. One option is by using normal CSS, and then you have to use the important as part of the properties. As developers, we don't like to use this important, but in this case it is required because you are going to override something. The other option is most of our buttons, they have an ID. And we did this in the way that if you know how to use JavaScript, you can customize even more the buttons. So this interface you see there with the audio button, the full screen button, the info button, part of the options you have by default that you can see here on the settings. You see here on the settings of the plugin that you have the start video muted, you have auto connect, auto play video, info button true, microphone button true, and so on. That means that when you have this, if you know how to code with JavaScript, you can override even the behavior, even the animations, and so on. So this will give you full flexibility to whatever you want to do there. As Dirk said before, those examples are running the templates from Arcware. They are free for you, and also this code pen is part of the documentation. You have the link there, so you only need to go to the documentation.
Mm-hmm. The link to the WebSDK already added in the chat, but from there it's very easy to get to the full documentation. If you're also ever lost, just go to the Arcware website, and in the top you can find resources, and then you have the documentation both in text form, in video form, and in Discord form, which is the human-shaped version of all documentation, which is Manolis.
Yeah. So as you can see here, and as I said before, you have all the example of the code where you see how to set up the application, and if you want to play around, you can play around here in the same page. But if you want to have the full code, then you go to this edit on code pen, and then you are going to this page that we were seeing before. So if you guys have any question about that, I think we can answer later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's do that.
Then we have two main advanced features that are really important when you have a web integration. One is the screenshot functionality, which is something, it was developed when I was working here with the guys. And from one side, we have the option to develop kind of the interface on Unreal side or the web browser side. This means that what you see on your stream, you can take a screenshot, download it to your laptop or PC, whatever you are using, or even your phone, and you can use this as part of your application for having more options for your customer, or even if you are working with a customer and they need content creation, this is something that you can use from your streaming. You can set up the cameras and so on, and then download the screenshot. Let's go to the documentation from Arcware. Yeah. So here you have a little bit of the explanation from the guys in terms of Unreal side. There is a part for the blueprints where everything is explained how to develop that, but you have also the template that is uploaded to the cloud, so you guys can download this and start playing around. It's the same with the front end. We have the web UI and the in-game UI. And in the in-game UI, you have all the information you need, so you can implement the buttons for the screenshot, how to set up them, and so on. And at the end, you have the code example that you can run here. And here is the good thing of this. When the application is running, I will be able to press the button to take the screenshot. And this screenshot will go to my desktop. And then let's check it. So as you can see, the screenshot is giving the same resolution you were seeing in the streaming, which means that if we go back to this streaming and then I modify the size to something like portrait, like we are simulating that we are on the phone, if I take another screenshot and then I save this screenshot, when I go back to my screenshot from before, I have a new one, and this one has the mobile aspect ratio, which means that depending on the browser, not on the browser, on the device you are using, you can have different screenshots. But also this is something good for you, because if you are able to integrate the streaming properly and you can play around with the container, you can customize the resolution and the aspect ratio of your screenshots. This is really interesting for companies that are working with content creators or they have a marketing team, they need to create content, but they don't want to render every time they are creating something new. Then the next part is probably the most important part of the whole web integration, which is the backend integration. By that, it means that when you are developing something for the web, you can connect to backend, APIs, cloud servers, and so on. So you can create complex applications, and you can use Unreal Engine for the visualization. Then your front end will be kind of the middleware, and all the logic is going to be handled by the backend. This is something that, for example, the previous showcase we saw from Opel, they have only the configurator in terms of you can see the car, but you cannot buy the car. If you integrate this in the proper way, you can have your own integration where you are going to display the car, you can customize your car, and you can buy your car. If we are talking about real estate, it's going to be the same. You can buy your house with your own style, with the floors you want, and so on, and then you can have a PDF or something to download. Depending on the industry, you have many options. So you can save user profiles and their configurations. You can generate PDFs from the screenshots with information you have coming from the backend. You have the option to have configuration codes. So when you share a link, then you have the option to open this link with a defined configuration. It's also good because you can send the configuration by email. So you have all the information of the options you were selecting, but then when you open the link, you are going to see again your configuration. This is really good, for example, for companies, let's say kitchen manufacturers that they are doing something custom and the customer is asking them for a price or something like that, they can send back the configuration with the link. So even the manufacturer can check the final configuration. Or the other option, and this is really interesting for e-commerce, everything can be set up in the way that your Unreal Engine application with your front end will connect with the e-commerce platform through APIs or whatever is needed, and then the customer will be able to pay. So for example, if we are talking about retail and fashion, you can buy stuff directly, but first you see them in 3D.
Shall we go back to full screen for the homies?
Yeah, but before going full screen, I will jump to a project that we developed for one of our German customers. And this is a project that is one of the most complex projects. I mean, in terms of visual, yes, it's a configurator for beer taps and drink, different types of drinks. But everything you see in the front end is managed by a backend. So there is a database, there is APIs that are saying what we have to show here. So for example, if one of the options is disabled because for this particular type of product you cannot have different type of shapes, it's gonna be sent by the backend. The same with the options for the tabs. For example, another thing that you cannot do with Unreal, but you can do with the front end is this drag and drop options. So for example, here in the front end, you can switch the position of the element, and then this is gonna be converted in Unreal, because after the action is done, the front end is sending the information to Unreal. It's the same with the colors, same with other type of options. Another thing that this project has is different language, so you can switch from English to German, and this is also part of the backend. One option is also to create a PDF that is going to be sent to the customer for requesting this configuration, so the company can send them a quote with the price, or even to start the manufacturing process. And there is also something really, really cool, that in this project you have this randomizer, and this randomizer is just sending different configurations. Every time you click, there is a new configuration that is generated and is rendered by Unreal. The good part of this generator is when you have projects like this and you have different types of customers, you can even have filters. So depending on your customer and depending on the options they need or what you want to sell them, you can filter the front end by having some categories or filters, so you can customize the experience even more. The last part of this project is what you see here on the top. This is configuration codes, and this is what we were mentioning before. So you can have your own configuration, and if you refresh, like in this case, in refreshing the streaming, the configuration is still there. So it's not only on the browser, but it's on the backend. So every time someone is going here, if I close this tab right now and I go back here, I open the tab again and I copy the link. When I open, Unreal is gonna display the same configuration. How this is done? When the front end is connecting, is sending all the information with the codes you see on the top. Each of the codes is telling some information to Unreal, and Unreal is able to understand all of them at once. So you don't have to send one by one. So let's say you have like 20 options, you don't have to send them one by one, you can send them all of them in a row. And Unreal is able to manage all the information and display the final product. So this is like just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what you can do with the web integration. Let's go back to the presentation. Let me close this first. And here we have some different use cases. The one in the middle is for automotive, is the one I was showcasing before for the AMG one. And as I said before, this is a project where you have only the showcase of the car, but it can be more. It can be for dealers or for showrooms to have the final configuration for the customer. One option, for example, is for product. And in this case, you have one of the customers from Arcware, which is selling these nice custom pet beds. So you can customize your own product for your dog or your cat or any type of animal you have at home. So you have the option to have different embroidery or without the name. You have different colors. You have different options to display the product. You have different views. In this case, for example, compared with the AMG, in the AMG we have some defined cameras with the thumbnail. In this case, it's like a slider where you click next. You are moving to different cameras. You can go back to the previous one, and so on. They are defined by default, and then you can go back to the 360 view, and then you have full control of the experience. Yeah, there is another one, which is this one that, yeah, it looks really comfy. So yeah, the thing is, depending on your product, your case, you have many options. This one has a really kind of generic, simple interface. The other one has a more complex interface. And then we have, for example, for real estate, ArcBiz, and so on, we have a project from one of the customers from Arcware. These are the guys from a bar, and they have a showroom where they are able to show different type of saunas. So here you have the option to move around within the showroom, and then you can see the different types of places where you can see your sauna. and so on. But then you have also the menu. In this case, seems to be an issue with the thumbnails, but there is an image here on the left, and depending on where you click here, the whole application is interacting, and Unreal Engine is moving the camera somewhere else, playing an animation, and so on. So yeah, as I said before, when you are implementing something on the web, you are not limited by the blueprints, so you can do whatever you want. You can connect cameras to actions, you can connect the mouse to the camera, so it depends on how you want to customize the experience for your customers. And yeah, the last part is closing a little bit the webinar in terms of the content, is to summarize that by embedding the stream to the web with Vixl streaming, then you have more immersive experience. It's for any kind of projects. It doesn't matter if you have a showcase, a training tour, real-time simulator, digital twin, anything. If you are using Unreal Engine plus the WebSDK, this is the toolkit you have for the job. And the last thing is try the SDK, read the documentation, talk with the guys. If you have any question, you will have also the link to my LinkedIn profile and to the guys. So
it's already shared in the chat.
Yeah, so if you guys have any question, just send me a message and we can discuss any idea you have. But yeah, so right now, thank you for being here. Thank you for the attention. And it's time for your questions. I hope I can answer them.
I'm pretty sure you will. So first of all, I'd like to tell you that Ben actually did make it to the webinar after all. Hey Ben, how's it going?
Hey Ben.
We were asking if you were already part of the webinar earlier today because we shared your product configurator, the Royal Enfield one. Thanks, Brain, for not being too slow.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. We already have a lot of questions.
Okay.
Some are a little bit more fundamental and some are a little bit more hands-on, so those are really nice.
Perfect.
So one of the questions that I found interesting was if you want to embed it on your website, is it really that every browser should be able to show it, or are there still browsers where we would say, yeah, that's not happening?
Most of them, they are gonna work fine. I can say that Safari is the one that maybe is gonna give a little bit of pain with some stuff, because Apple, they like to do some stuff different. But when we were developing the WebSDK, we were taking in consideration most of the browsers and trying to fix all these kind of edge cases. So yeah, it should work for every browser.
Yeah, and let's also face it, if you are using, if you test things on Chrome, Safari, Firefox, and then maybe one or two other ones, then you basically have tested everything for 98% of mobile like internet traffic anyway. So, you know, sometimes also users are just the issue, not your work, right? Unfortunately, we have to say that that's the case.
Yeah.
Then I think before we really get into the nerdy stuff, which I really do want to get into because that's why we are here for the webinar. So but before that, I want to look at it from the perspective of what if I am not a technical person, but I do want to do this and I don't want to ask for too much help. And obviously there's the documentation, written, video, Discord. How would you go about integrating a Unreal Engine application on your website if you are not, you're eager to learn, but you're not a programmer yet?
I mean, the thing is, if you go, for example, to the code example I was saying before for JavaScript and HTML, you have there the button. You can just copy the code from there and customize the text and change some colors. If you want to go a little bit further and you want to modify maybe the background of the button or change the corner to something more rounded and so on, you can always ask ChatGPT.
That is indeed a fantastic shortcut. But we don't believe in ChatGPT here in the office. We believe in Mano PT.
Not for front-end, guys. I love you, but
no, but this thing with, so for example, for something really simple like changing the border radius or something like that is something that ChatGPT can help you So you can have something running pretty quick, but for something more complex, you will need someone.
And to actually put everything live, I need a tool to publish my website. So
Yeah.
assuming that I'm not very I'm not a programmer, so I would use something simple like a Webflow, like a Wix, like a WordPress, and then I would use the HTML blocks, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then I have ChatGPT to help me with this type of stuff, and documentation, and Discord, and video tools. So AK3D, I think that sort of covers your corner here, I would say, here for those type of questions. Okay, so that's all fine. And then in the chat, then I think basically what we're getting into is the Web SDK and in-game versus front-end. So I think it's good to start with in-game versus front-end UI, because Tim already mentioned that right now they build everything in-game. And it looks really nice.
Yeah.
It works. I tested it. But then when he saw you, he thought like, hey, maybe this front-end stuff is pretty nifty. It's, where's this? And the problem is that he doesn't have a front-end developer. So this is also why, obviously, I dropped your LinkedIn contact stuff there. But what are the pros and cons of the two different ways to do things? Because you already showed that it's not, it doesn't always instantly work with mobile.
Yeah, so one of the things is when you have your in-game UI, you depend on the speed of your internet to see everything properly. So if the connection is not good, the UI is going to be pixelated. So it's hard for the user to interact with the application if they are not able to see the interface. Also, it depends. So you need the application running to see the interface. But if you have the front end, then you can customize your loading screen, you can get information from your customer, you can display videos, you can display any information you want before the application is running. And then when the application is running, the customer will be, or the user will be able to use the application. And when you have your in-game UI, you are putting some effort in terms of performance to Unreal Engine side. By moving this to the browser, then Unreal Engine is not going to have to render this part, and it can be lightweight. So the performance will increase also for pixel streaming. Then you have also a responsive adaptation. Some customers, when they have an application that they want to share for mobile and also for laptop, let's say, they have to have a first screen where the user has to select whether they are using a device with touch input or keyboard, or if they are using mobile or they are using a normal PC, so they have to adapt the UI. So all these kind of things can be done on the front end. Everything is going to be lightweight and it's going to adapt immediately.
And so right now we've mostly focused on front end versus in-game. But then what would be your pitch to really use the Web SDK?
So, I mean, the first thing you have is you have full control of the streaming. So, what I said before, when you have your streaming through the Serlink, you have some kind of control in terms of the FFQ module. So, if someone is not interacting with the streaming, it's going to close by itself with some elements to say, hey, you are not interacting, do something, otherwise I'm going to close the connection. But if you use the Web SDK, then you have full control. So you can decide whether to connect the streaming or disconnect and so on. That will give you also control in your cost, but also in terms of performance. From my side, I will say that if you want to showcase something that is just visual and is a product without anything else, that you cannot customize everything or do nothing, just see the product, then Serlink is okay. But if you want to showcase something that you can set up all the options, change the camera movement, change the daylight and so on, then you have to go to the web integration, because then you can have full control on the front end for all the type of controllers.
I think that's a very valid argument, and kind of, basically says that as long as you don't want to anything other than just a block that is the Unreal Engine application, you need to go WebSDK.
Yeah.
Good.
And also, if you want to have better conversion in terms of the time that the customers are interacting, if you don't have proper integration with all these options that you can offer them more, like the screenshot functionality we saw before, then it's hard to keep the customer with some interest on the streaming.
Perfect. I'm letting Dragan make his point in the chat because this is turning into a fantastic community support moment. But I'd like to stick for now with the WebSDK and give Dragan his time to make his point. So basically, there was a question from Francesco, which is, can we use the WebSDK for local streaming? For instance, we launched the default signaling from Epix. Can we plug that stream in front end using WebSDK? Basically, share ID is localhost without direct flow.
Yeah. So the thing is, you can have it running on your local machine with your signaling server running locally, and then you have to pass the same ID. It's gonna be the same. But also there is the option of direct flow. You can have also the direct flow ID connected to the WebSDK, and if you are developing something, you don't have to create your package, upload to the platform and so on. You can develop everything just connecting your direct flow. When you are done with the development, then you upload the package.
And also direct flow is more so if you want to share things, like show what you have built with someone else who most likely isn't local.
Yeah.
So different use cases, I'd say. But basically the answer to the question is just yes, it is possible. Now the question is fully on the how, but that's something I'm sure Francesco will be able to answer in the documentation. Very good. So then Francesco, if you're stuck, Discord documentation for the 17th time, reading it for the 17th time, because when I need to follow a manual, I usually read 4 different things, the 5 different times that I read it. So then we can go back to the topic of the in-game versus front-end UI, because Dragan says that in his experience, everything you do should be done within Unreal. Browser technosaurs will sabotage you anyway they can from front-end that they can affect. That last thing, I think, Manolis is already jumping, is already entering the chat. That is fantastic. The more complex in-game UI you have, the more performant.
Before. It's not
Sorry.
discussion.
Technosaurs do not like applications running inside their application as it challenges their monopoly of we control the content.
Okay, in this case, you have to think like in this case, Unreal is the tool for rendering, and the front end and the back end are the ones with the heavy lifting for the logic. So, of course, you can do everything in Unreal, but when you are trying to connect to APIs, depending on the provider, let's say you are using Arcware, some external connections to the internet can be blocked. So this is something that you have to consider, whether your application is connecting to external APIs or you are doing something more complex, then it makes sense to use the web integration. Of course, this is not to force anyone to go to the web integration. It will depend on the case. I think the key here is to understand the requirements from the customer to see which one is the best option. Because sometimes what we see is that some customers, they develop something with Unreal Engine in-game UI, but part of the UI is on the front end because it's for something else. So I think it's not something that you say one or the other. Can be both, can be one. So that was my answer to the question.
Good. Then we have a few questions from AK3D that I just will quickly want to go through. So the first being, what's the recommended speed and distance from the Arcware servers? So obviously this question is only relevant if you are in countries with bad internet. And here, unfortunately, we already need to exclude Germany because we like to make fun of our own internet connections here because it is not always as good as we want it to be.
Yeah.
But then definitely if you're in countries like India, if you're in sub-Saharan Africa, then what would you say is a recommended speed for pixel streaming in general?
I think we were testing in the past and it was running fine even with 5 megabytes, right?
Yeah, for 1080p, 5 Mbit is kind of the request. But in terms of latencies, we have something on our website already. Like from India on, at the moment we have 170 milliseconds from streaming from our Munich servers with the Ampere series of GPUs. But as you know, I don't know if you all got our newsletter, but we launched our LA servers.
And that's exactly where I wanted to go to.
And with this strategic move, we even cover Australia, bringing down from 300 milliseconds to 120, and Japan. And the best part is that in the mail we told ADA series of GPUs, but at the end we will go with Blackwell series of GPUs in this side, and frame generation 2 with the LSS4 and stuff. So crazy stuff are coming. So.
And if you want to use our US servers, then please connect with your customer solutions manager, with either Eski or with Kosha. When you connect with them, they can actually make certain things possible. So if, for instance, you are only interested in the US market or the Americas, or Asia, then maybe that's an option. And if you are only interested in Europe, then obviously you are perfectly fine with our Munich servers. And yeah, basically we might have a few random corners of the world where we're not as good as we want to be.
Yeah, South Africa is a bit on 200s, let's say. India side 170, but then in the other side, the more you go, you will be streaming from the LA servers. But yeah, slowly but surely, guys, as you know, we have our own infrastructure and it's a heavy investment. That's why we move a bit slow, but when we make a step, it is a very serious step in terms of, unlocking regions.
And then I think basically the last real question that that we can answer for AK3D about data usage, which I actually think is kind of interesting. So you don't really have to worry about data usage here. The Arcware platform, or basically any pixel streaming platform, you pay per minute that you stream, which means that as long as someone uses our servers, the ones in either LA or in Munich, you have to pay for you using those so that someone can see your content. And so here you can see all of your usage in your account through our analytics. So you can see how many minutes you streamed, how many people accessed your content, how many people at the same time, because obviously that's also very important. There are different account levels. You have a free trial, you have a light plan for beginning freelancers and agencies, and then you have the core, for which is really the people who need a lot. And then if you really need a lot and you can't get it out of the box, we can make that possible with the custom plan for you. So here I think everything's super sorted. Just create an account, start streaming. Everything will be clear after that. And then we have a last question, it seems, from Osita. However, if you have questions, we can be here all night. We just might go for a beer run, that's it.
Drop your questions.
So drop your questions, keep going. Osita asked, how many gigabytes of VRAM is available on the Blackwell GPUs with Arcware?
We will see. In the Europe side, we will see which model we go with, but apparently maybe in Europe we have 48, we use the A6000s, and in the other side we will have more than, 90 if we go Blackwell Pros, or 59 if we go 5090s, then we will have 32 gigs, I guess, for VRAM.
Good, then I see one new thing in the chat. That's a wow, that's always nice.
Yeah, that's a move that.
And also you guys are supporting all of the Unreal Engine versions.
Yeah,
This is important for.
By the way, one important thing, we will deprecate support for 4.22 until the end of this year. We did an initial announcement on Discord, but newsletters will be also dropped. So 4.27 and 5.03 versions, which are for pixel streaming, 5.03 is the catastrophe version. If you are using it, just please update. Those will not be supported anymore. But 5.1, even 5.6 is supported. Both pixel streaming versions also, but production ready is the normal pixel streaming. Pixel streaming 2 is still not production ready. It's even flagged from Epic Games. Yeah.
Oh, and I just want to validate one last thing. The Misa beer configurator, that is an internal tool, right? Or because when I tried to find it, it was...
this is not a public thing.
Sorry, I tried,
no.
Francesco.
This is an internal sales tool. It's an underground thing, but we can show it on events or talk about it.
So please follow us on YouTube so that you can see it again once we upload the video. Which also brings me to another point that, yes, indeed, Francesco, if you order large amounts of beer, perhaps that is possible. I mean, there are worse ways to get access to an Unreal Engine application, isn't it? So just one of the things that I also kind of wanted to highlight while Dragan is typing. We are Arcware and Vixl are active on a lot of different channels. Please do follow us and like and share and comment on posts. This helps us get out the word about pixel streaming, our platform, our services. Yeah. And you don't know, the thing is, this technology is not as widespread or known about as we would like to. So every time that you like us or you share a post of ours, that really helps us get the word out. The same is with our subreddit on Reddit. We have a little space there for anyone to just do anything when it comes to pixel streaming. Share your stuff, ask for feedback, give feedback. We're currently just posting our updates there. Obviously, that's a little one-sided, so please help us. We don't want to seem too egoistic. And then we have our LinkedIn, we have our Reddit, we have our newsletter. Please open those. It always makes us feel very special when we see a nice open rate. And then what else? Join us for all our other webinars. We have really nice stuff. Follow us on YouTube. That's going really well. We're uploading all of our webinars there. We might do some more stuff. And of course, that's where we have our our video tutorials. So we have tons of content for you.
A bit outdated, but we will update those too.
And so everything is there. Yes, on YouTube they upload. That is basically the summary of everything I've said. Yeah. Yes, you will be able to see the beginning of the webinar, Dragan. It might actually already play as soon as we press stop here. So then you will see us hanging out a little bit in the beginning. But we will also upload everything in a nice professional cut, you know. We think that the webinar should be interactive and should be fun and should be playful. But of course, the stuff on YouTube is stuff where we don't have control. So then it needs to look professional and be to the point. So if you miss anything, you'll be able to find it back. And yes, so if there aren't any new questions, comments, then I think we can call it quits for today. And then I just want to thank our fantastic guest, Ivan, who please everyone follow his new studio. They're going to do amazing stuff if everything he's done at Arcware is anything to go by. And so yes, we will close because AK3D will ask more questions. So, however, Discord. There is always Discord and there's ChatGPT. Some of our content you can already find on there anyway. We are being suggested by ChatGPT as one of the best pixel streaming platforms, which shows that there is indeed some form of intelligence in artificial intelligence. So, other than that, Ivan, it's been a pleasure.
Same
Manos,
here.
thanks for operating.
Thank you guys, you nailed it again.
And gentlemen and ladies in the crowd, see you next time.
Thank you for your time. Bye bye, guys.